Hello, everybody out there in our digital space as we gather. It's been fascinating to continue to see the reports about how much folks are gathering around and taking part. I just got our YouTube report, and according to YouTube, 6,000 minutes, 6,044 minutes of our stuff has been watched. And so I know that this is getting out there, and I know that in the midst of this Holy Week, we're trying to dig a little deeper and have a little bit more time as we look and think more deeply about what Jesus is up to, especially in the Gospel of Mark. I'm trying to move around the church. If you can see, we are in our fellowship hall area. You haven't seen this place for a while, and so I'm going to be trying to do this. The other reason that I am here is because, hold on, I'll be right back. We are hosting a blood drive next week, tomorrow, right here. And I'm thinking it's full already. That was the last report I heard. We did have 2 days signed up. They're having some staffing stuff going on, as you can imagine. And so they don't have folks to staff for both days. So we are thankful for the day that we're able to do the work here, to be that host, and to continue to help in the ways that our building simply can still be in mission and ministry. I want to dig into some text for today. If you have your Bibles, I want to encourage you to go ahead and grab them, open them up to Mark chapter 11. So Mark chapter 11, Jesus has just done the triumphal entry, and the next thing that he does is that he walks in, and this is the section that's called Jesus cleanses the temple. So you kind of already have an understanding of what's going to happen, and so want to read this and think a little bit more about it. Jesus. Here in Mark chapter 11, starting at verse 15. Sorry, I didn't say that. And they came to the temple, and he entered the temple and began to drive out those who were selling and those who were buying in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold doves. And he would not allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. He was teaching and saying, is it not written, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations, but you have made it a den of robbers. When the chief priests and the scribes heard it, they kept looking for a way to kill him. But they were afraid of him because the whole crowd was spellbound by his teaching. And when evening came, Jesus and his disciples went out of the city. This is an interesting text that we get into as we are thinking about Holy Week. Jesus comes into this place, this temple. Remember, the temple was the area in which sacrifices and offerings were made. And this would have been a time during Passover to be doing that work. Remember, they were remembering the passing over of the angel of death. The temple was an important place because it offered an opportunity for people to have an intimate place to be in relationship with God. In the midst of this, Jesus is entering in, newly crowned king. People screaming, shouting, crying out to him for him to offer salvation, to save us. Save us now. Save us, please. Here Jesus enters into this most holy place, this temple. He enters into it, and he sees the transformation from a place in which people found comfort, solace, prayer, and a relationship with God into an economic center. And in particular, he points out two things. I don't know if you caught them. The first one was the money changers. These are folks that you needed to use the specific money of the temple in order to do any work in it, to offer your offerings. And in doing so, everybody gets a little cut. So if you're taking a cut out of this money or this offering that is going to God, not a good idea. Second, Jesus goes and throws out those who are selling doves. And you might be just something to read over. For many years, I read over that passage just kind of as Jesus getting angry, right? And instead, I think that this is helpful. In Leviticus, when we're talking about offerings, the doves are the lowest of the offerings. If you can't offer all these things, give 2 turtle doves, is what we hear in the Levitical code. Jesus here is offering a concern very, very, very much so for the poor. Those who are the least of these, those who might be struggling financially to be in a relationship with God. In the midst of this time, in the midst of this pandemic, we continue to do our best to look out for those who are poor in spirit, poor in finances, or in physical abilities. We do so as we continue to make this move. We continue to do so living into this discipleship that God has called us. If we find ourselves to be poor in any of these places, this is the links that God will go to remind you that God is at work caring for you. God will throw out the money changers, turn over the tables, upset the apple carts, redefine the structures so that you know that God still loves and cares for you, no matter how rich or how poor you are. As we continue our reflection work this week, I want to continue to encourage you to think through this passage, a pretty well-known passage of Mark's gospel within this Holy Week. May God continue to bless you as you continue to walk in this time. And be aware that there are lots of other resources that are available on our website, and I want to encourage you to go and check those out. Services for Maundy, Thursday will be a take-home, an encouragement that you gather your family together and do this work together. Good Friday, we will live stream again, but you have a part in that too, to gather together 7 candles as we will have our service. And then on Easter, we're putting together these certain kind of sticks called sticks. Remember, we can't say that word in Latin. Sticks. And the instructions for those are in the website, all the way scroll down in the resources. There's a little fun way. And every time we say the word, then you'll be able to shake your stick. And it's kind of fun. So something to do. If you're in the midst of this time, you can make it in all sorts of ways. We continue to pray for you, and we continue to look out for those who are in need. May God's blessings be upon you this day and every day as we continue to walk. Bye.